Hi there. These comments are for DS, and I am Michael from BetterToeflScores.com. And this is I'm going to grade 4 of your speaking tasks so you can get a general idea of what your estimated speaking score is right now. I have the independent speaking rubrics for the first one. I'm getting ready to listen to your first practice test. So let's listen to the whole thing once. Then I will give you comments on the second listening.
I totally agree that traveling independently is way better than being in a group. And my reason for this that being on my own, I can see many places when I travel, and I can be free on moving from one spot to the other. But being in a group, I have to commit to their schedule, and if there is places that they want to go to and I don't prefer it, I have to respect the schedule, and I have to go with everything done for us. But when I am on my own, I can be creative. Like one day I can go for the beach, one other day I
Read a
can go
short
for
passage and listen to a talk on the same topic.
nice scenes.
Then listen for a question about.
Okay. All right. So I'm thinking with this one, you're probably between 2.5 and 3. I think that is a realistic goal. So I think you need a little bit more unified organization to your ideas. I think you had a few minor language use issues and then some problems with delivery. So I'm going to put you about 18 to 19 points out of 30 on this practice test. Sorry about that. I just dropped my notes here. Okay, so let's just say 19 for right now. Okay, let's listen to it one more time.
I totally agree that traveling independently is way better.
I would just say traveling independently is way better than. There's no need to say I totally agree, right? If you say that it's better than, that means that you agree with that statement.
Than being in a group. And my reason for this that being on my own.
No. This is no good, no good. You need a more focused topic statement in the beginning, right? So traveling independently is better for me. Why? Because it's cost effective and I have more control over my trip. You say something like that in the beginning. Say, first of all, if I travel independently, I can save a lot of money. Then you give an example to illustrate that. And then you'll say, second of all, again, traveling independently allows me more control over what I see on my trip. Then you give an example to illustrate that. So you need a much better focus to your ideas in the beginning, and then it makes it easier to control the organization throughout your response.
I can see many places when I travel, and I can be free on moving from one spot to the other. But being in a group, I have to commit.
But you can see many places, right? Well, then give a specific example of something that you can see.
To their schedule, and if there is places that they want to go to and I don't
There are places that the tour guide and others may want to go to.
prefer it, I have to respect the schedule, and I have to go with everything done for us. But when I am on my own, I can.
But you're stating a lot of reasons in there, but you're not getting very deep, right? So if I go back to the rubrics, it says too, mostly basic ideas are expressed with limited elaboration or details and support. So I'm not getting any specifics. That's the problem.
Be creative. Like one day I can go for the beach, one other day I
Read
can
a
go
short
for
passage and listen to a talk on the same topic.
nice scenes.
Then listen for a question about.
Okay. So that's it. So I'm going to say 19 points. I'm going to go lower than that even. I'm going to say 18 points on that particular speaking task. So definitely you need a more unified structure to your ideas. So go to Toefl Independent Speaking Strategies. That lesson in my online course. That's a good lesson for you right now. Go to speaking lesson number 6. How to make your speaking and writing more coherent. Go to the writing section of my course. I want you to watch the video, How to Write the Perfect Paragraph, and think about how these ideas in the writing area, how they translate or how they relate to when you're speaking. The idea is you start with a topic, you take time to develop that topic before moving on to any other topics. You didn't do that. You briefly mentioned an idea, then you moved on to something else. I think with your delivery, you definitely need some practice there. You had some problems with your pacing, some problems with your tone, and some problems with just general vowel and consonant sounds. For example, the R sound when it's at the beginning of the word, like better, better. You might say better, better. So you want to make sure you're not pronouncing that R too hard when it's at the end of the words, but I don't see that as a major problem because it doesn't really interfere in your ability to be understood. All right, thank you for doing that practice test. Let's get on to the next one. Now we're moving on to TOEFL task number 2, so let's see how you did on this one.
The teacher is talking about the historic importance.
What are we doing? The teacher is, you can't do that right in the beginning of your response there, Dina. That's not a good strategy, right? Be confident, right? You know how to do this, right? So if you pause and hesitate, after 2 words of your response, that's going to disrupt everything else, right?
Of old Maine, and that after 100 years, this is the main building for.
Be careful. After. No, it's after. So in the pronunciation part of my course, I want you to practice the and the o and the and the un. These are called syllabic consonants. Practice those consonants till you get a little bit more comfortable with that, especially the Try not to say but just
For the university, and after the celebration they have to keep the building as is and do all the renovations only from inside, the plumbing and all the electrical structures that they need to change, but not to demolish the old building, especially that the brick structure looks very beautiful, and by demolishing the building and keeping the clock tower, it won't look proper on the building, and it will look really odd. So she really encouraged to keep the old building as is and just renovate and remodel from inside, and this will be great to keep the historic importance and the historical building.
No, I'm going to say 15 points out of 30 on this. You're having a lot of trouble. So, sending all your speaking practice tests in one day, don't do that anymore. This is not working for you at all, period. So you need to get feedback daily. Don't wait a week until you do speaking practice. You're losing ground. You're losing ground, Dina. Not a good idea, right? So send me speaking practice at least maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday or something, so I can give feedback on each of those days. So just send one, right? Doing them all at one time I don't think is a good strategy for you, so don't do that anymore, because it just doesn't seem to be helping you at all. It seems like that this practice test that I'm listening to here is worse than the one that I did before. So whatever you've been doing over the last week or two, you need to change something, do something different, right? Speaking is something you have to keep up with regularly. You got to do this like every day. You should be doing some practice. Okay. I think on this one, I think that I told you I'm going to put you in the 2 range. Quite a bit of problems with pronunciation. I think you have maybe some language use issues. Your grammar, vocabulary is pretty basic. And maybe some topic development issues also. Let's go back one more time. Here we go.
The teacher is talking about the historic importance of old Maine, and
why not give this a purpose? Right? So is this more of in the lecture, the professor explains blah, 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 and then gives one or two examples to further illustrate that idea. So you need a little bit better introduction that can really state what the purpose of these sources is. So go over to Toefl Integrated Speaking Strategies. Look over the suggested organizations for these types of tasks. I think so. As you improve your structure and you know how to organize it, it makes it easier to control your delivery and your language use.
That after 100 years,
It's not after, but it's after.
This is the main building for the university, and after the celebration, they have to keep
Who's they? They have to.
the building as is and do all the renovations only from inside, the plumbing and all the electrical structures that they need to change. But
Again, they. Who is they? Are these the university officials? Are these construction workers? Engineers? Who are these people?
not to demolish the old building, especially that the brick structure looks very beautiful. And by demolishing the building and keeping the clock tower, it won't look proper on.
Why not say by demolishing then the clock tower, it will or will not look proper according to the woman? Because so make sure that you're connecting this information back to the sources. So it's not your opinion, but you're summarizing somebody else's opinion, which means it should be framed from their point of view and not yours.
The building, and it will look really odd. So she really encouraged to keep
So the woman encourages, how about university officials?
the old building as is and just renovate
So she encourages the university officials to keep the building, the old building, as it is without tearing it down. Maybe
and remodel from inside, and this will be great to keep the historic importance
this will preserve the historical importance of.
and the historical building.
Okay, so I think you're definitely limited with your grammar and your vocabulary on this one, and you had considerable delivery issues. I'm going to put you at 15 points out of 30 on this practice test. Hi there, Dina. This is Michael. I'm going to go ahead and listen to, I think this is Toefl Integrated Task number 3. All right, here we go.
Plate tectonic in the passage explains that Earth was one piece or one slab or one plate that constantly in motion, and this causes slowly
That is constantly in motion, so don't forget your be verb.
a movement that happen on those plates, which is 2 inches per year. And in the lecture, the professor is explaining that we have something called Pangea, which is the whole continent was one piece and surrounded with the ocean.
You say we have. It isn't good to use those personal pronouns. When you're summarizing somebody else's information, there's no we, there's no I, there's no you. The professor explains that at one point, all the continents of the earth were connected as one. You want to say it's something like that, right? So your grammar and your vocabulary that you're using to explain your ideas is a little bit too informal, and it doesn't match the purpose of the speaking task.
And then 100 million years ago, the movement between this continent started to separate north part from the south part, and then after many years again it starts appearing the 7 continents that we have now. And this was explained more, the effect of the plate tectonic or the motion that is happening on Earth in the lecture explaining.
Now, you're not fully explaining that. So how does this plate tectonic thing, how does this connect to the fact that the continent separated into 7 other continents as it kind of broke? This main continent broke into pieces, some pieces going north, south, east, west, and then spreading out to form what we now know is the world, is Earth, right? As we know it, with all the oceans in between everything.
How this motion happens.
Yeah, I think on this one, let's take a look at the rubrics. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to put you about 17 to 18. I'll give you 17 points on it. So I think you're struggling. You're struggling with the content. You're not sure how to organize it. You're not sure how to explain it. You definitely have some grammar limitations, vocabulary limitations. You're not sure how to create a more formal tone to the speaking by the avoidance of personal pronouns. So all of those things you have to work on, right? So TOEFL integrated speaking strategies. That is the most important lesson for you right now to help you with these speaking tasks. Your topic development, I think it could even be more organized also. And then delivery, kind of with the other two tasks. You're having a lot of pacing issues, a lot of problems with tone, a lot of problems with just basic vowel and consonant sounds. So I'll give you 17 points on this practice test. Let's listen to your integrated speaking task number 4.
The professor is explaining how the facts.
I would just say the professor explains. Why use two verbs when you can use one? Right? So you got the present progressive versus a simple present. When you explain information from reading and listening passages, the simple present is your best verb tense. That's your best choice. It's more concise and it's commonly accepted when you summarize other people's ideas to use that particular verb tense.
Machine works, and he explained it in a very easy way. He said that the fax machine, imagine it as three different.
Let's go back to what you said in the beginning. Let me see how you're framing this response.
The professor is explaining how the fax machine works, and he explained it in a very easy way. He said that the fax machine.
No, easy way, no. Maybe the professor gave some examples or gives examples to illustrate the idea. So typically the professor's explaining some type of concept, and then the professor gives some examples to illustrate that idea, right? So you need a little bit better way to introduce those points, and then it's going to make more sense why you're explaining one. You define the concept, and then you give or explain the examples that are used to illustrate that idea.
Imagine it as three different machines: a copier, a modem, and a printer. The copier copy the data, takes a picture or a light shine on the data and change it to black and take it as black and white dots. Then the modem takes this black and white dots image and change it to analog impulse that has different tones. So a tone for the black and a tone for the white. And then it move it to the other fax machine that take it or receive it and change it again as if it is a printer and move it again to be a white and black.
As if it, let's go back to what you just said. Let me check your language use.
And change
here.
it again as if it is a printer and.
As if it were, if you want to use it like that. That's what's called present and possible condition.
Move it again to be a white and black dots, which works as a printer and print us the information on the paper again.
Yeah, I think you need a better organization to this one, kind of similar to the other tasks, and also your pronunciation is not very clear. I'm going to put you at about 17 points on this. So what can we say here? You're going backward. That's what I can say. Instead of getting better, you're getting worse. Now, why is that? Right? You got to ask yourself that question. So, I think from now on, do not send me 4 speaking tasks at the same time. A, it takes me about an hour to grade them, right? Takes a long time. And B, you're not getting regular feedback on a daily basis. I think it's better that you do 1 speaking practice test per day, and then you get some feedback. You can make some adjustments based on that feedback. Then you try another practice test. To me, that's a better way to do it, right? We're going to have better results that way. Okay, so overall, out of 30 points, based on your performance here, I'm going to put you at, I'm going to say 17 points out of 30. I think that's probably pretty fair. So you should be doing, I think it's a good idea right now, is maybe one day you can do a speaking practice test. The next day you can do some pronunciation practice, and I'll give you feedback on that. So just keep all your audio files limited to 60 seconds. That's all I'm asking. So I think pronunciation and speaking practice together will be better for you, and write out all responses. I think it's a good idea for you to write out your responses for a while until you get better control over the structure, and then it becomes more natural to you. All right, thank you for doing this practice test, or these practice tests, I should say.